Hey, welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. And today we have a very, very special guest with whom we are going to be talking about marriage, singleness, and purpose and finding fulfillment in every season of life. This is someone who's near and dear to my heart, who I met in 2003, and we had an instant connection and have been bonded ever since. And she's many, many things. She is like the ultimate people person. That's how we met and clicked, right? Like, because that's something that comes organic to both of us. She is a daughter of the king. She is a mother of a beautiful young man. She is an entrepreneur. Come on, don't stop, love. She'll tell y'all more about that too. And she is my sans and my soror. And so I'm so very happy to introduce to you all Miss Laqundra Hill.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
welcome. I'm so
It
glad
is
that you're
such an
here.
honor. It's such an honor to be here. Just an honor to see what God has done in your life. He's continuing to do. And I tell you all the time, beyond proud of you. It is an honor. And listen, to know you is to love you, and to have you is to be blessed. So, um, it's just that, like, people that know, like, you're something like a big deal. And it's all God, though. I promise you, like, it's so good. Like, you're so oily. God is all over you. And I love that for you.
Thank you. Look, I'm a God deal, not a big deal. Okay.
Yes, a God deal. I love every bit of that. It's so
Yes.
good.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes. Yes. So society often places a lot of pressure on us, right? To make us feel like, whether we're single, whether we're married, whatever the stage that we're in, that like is one's better than the other, or, just, finds a way of making us feel like where we are is not enough. And somehow that we're like out of place. When the reality of it is, like in every season, there's purpose. Like, right. So God is taking his time with us. Nothing is wasted with him. Everything is intentional. And I won't say I don't know about you. I know about you and I know about me. God don't play about it. And so whether it's been in seasons of singleness or like I just like to call solitude or seasons of marriage, which we both have experienced. And now, thriving in purpose, right? Like God is doing such wonderful things. So whether we're dating, married, single, or like preparing for our kingdom spouse, right? Um, there's joy to be had. There is purpose to be lived. And most importantly, it's a beautiful space when you can be in alignment with God. And so in this episode, we're going to explore a little bit more on how to thrive no matter the season that you're in, to embrace God's timing and to just like release that pressure, like really understanding what it means to like let go and let God. So, LaQuandra, I'm so happy that you're here to talk with me about such an important topic, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to make people feel seen, heard, understood, and valued, right? Because there's so much that's out there. There's so much pressure. Like it's never enough. Like that, you always got to be doing something. Can we enjoy the season that we are in, right?
always. That's just like when you get engaged, when's the wedding? When you get married, when you having a baby. Like, it's just,
And then when you
well,
have the baby, where's number two?
when there's another one. Yeah, it's always something just, and I don't know. You're so right. Like, I was married when I was 25, and
There, I was surprised, me.
yes, you were there in your lavender, okay?
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
and
Girl,
that
I
just
was
made me think
thinking, I
about
was
my
like,
transition.
I had just had surgery. I was supposed to be down 6 weeks. It was week 5. I said, hey, I'm not missing this wedding for nothing because
And
Quadra,
Nitra just had a baby
as
the week before.
I don't know if you remember this. What I'm sure you do, but for our listeners, this this lady right here, she was the only woman that I knew outside of seeing like a movie or something. You already know what I'm about to say, huh? Who had an entire binder, y'all, of what she wanted her marriage to look like. When I tell you she took write the vision and make it plain to a whole nother level, baby had a binder. She had all the images and the designers for the dress, what she wanted to look like, the location, menu, like, and I was just like, I admired it. And I was like, dang, am I doing something wrong? Do I need to be thinking more about what my future looks like? But like, I never forgot that. And
Girl, I
I
was so
love that.
extra.
But, like,
I It was
you
perfect. I knew what I wanted, but the
yeah,
thing was, girl, yeah, you didn't because you didn't ask God first. That's what you didn't do. So, yeah, I was too busy. Like I was trying to live right, people and shacking and all that type of stuff. So I was just trying to live right. I was trying to be married, whatever. And I
mhm,
was not trying to be out here fornicating. So I was just trying to do what I was supposed to do the way that I was supposed to do it. But you can't do that if you don't consult God first. And so I didn't. But got married when I was 25. Um, Moved from Florida to Atlanta.
well, from Milwaukee to Florida.
Yes, Milwaukee to Florida. Got engaged in Florida. Got married the month after I graduated from school down in Florida. So I was planning a wedding and going to school at the same time.
Ooh,
A
baby.
wedding that was in a different state as well.
Yeah,
And then my bridesmaids were coming from all over. Right.
yeah, we did.
So I just thought I was doing it, girl. 25, I'm thinking I'm doing something. And I found out I was pregnant on my 4-year wedding anniversary. Right.
Okay.
Um,
On the
but
anniversary.
right. But 2 months after I had my son, I broke up with his dad. Okay. So I was 2 months postpartum. I got some news that made me say this isn't for me. I had driven all the way. I was just in a space where I was like, my postpartum was kicking my butt. I needed to drive. I drove 5.5 hours with a 2-month-old baby to be with my mom, right? I was just like, I just need my mom. Like, I gotta go. But instead of his dad, coming with, he took a flight to Wisconsin, right? But God, again, it's intentional because when I was here is when I got the information that would make me say I'm no longer interested in being in this relationship. And back then, that was before God delivered me from popping people because I would fight. So,
This is one of the many reasons why I love you. Before God delivered me from popping people. Okay.
mhm,
Okay.
because, you know, someone like, eh, how candid can I be on here?
You can be as candid as you like. We ain't in church, but we,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
we
I'm
gonna
just
we
saying.
gonna respect the space. But all right. So you were saying you had got in the car because you needed your mama. You drove 5 hours. I don't even know how many hundreds of miles that is. And with a 2-month old postpartum, you got some information and you said, "Baby, I have no desire to be in this any longer."
Mhm.
And you said, "How candid can I be?" And I said, "Well, we not in the church, so tell your story, sis. Tell your story."
So my cousin had come and visited us the weekend before this. And she has another cousin on the other side of her family that lives there. Everybody's from Milwaukee. You know how
Uh-huh.
small it is.
Yes.
So the girl's like, she had come and then she was acting weird the day she had left and gone to visit her cousin and came back and she was acting weird and they were leaving the next day.
And y'all were in Atlanta at this time. Okay.
Living in Atlanta.
Okay.
And so she leaves the next day. Then another friend of mine came and she was just asking all type of questions like, do you know, is there a statute of limitations on when you tell somebody something about their relationship or whatever, whatever, whatever? So I'm answering saying like, no. If you feel like it's something your girl needs to know, it doesn't matter how long ago
Your
it
girl
was, your girl
needs to know.
needs to know, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So she leaves. I drive here, okay,
And here's
and I get a phone
Mississippi.
call.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I drive to Mississippi.
Just so our listeners understand, like the distance,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
the distance. So I drive to Mississippi, so 5.5 hours from Atlanta. And I get a phone call while I'm here. And it's my cousin telling me, hey, I know our other friend was asking a bunch of questions or whatever, whatever. And she was asking because of me. I know you remember when I was there and I was acting kind of weird when I came back from my other cousin's house. I said, yeah, I remember. She was like, it was because I didn't know how to tell you this, whatever, whatever. So she's telling me that my ex-husband's name came up in conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, the girl doesn't know that
Not
she's my
uncommon,
cousin.
right? Because he's a popular guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And not knowing she's my cousin, that she's staying at my house. None of it. Right. So she was like, well, what's up with him? She was like, well, what do you mean? So now her antennas are up. She was like, why is he so effed up to his wife? So now she's really like, what do you mean? And so she starts explaining, like, we took an acting class together, and every time we were in class, he was trying to push up on me, whatever, whatever. And I was going to let him, but one day I asked him, so aren't you married? And he was like, well, yeah, but I don't sleep in the same room with her. I don't F her, whatever, whatever. Right. But we were living in a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment at this time. So you're lying. Okay. Um, he was like, well, why would you marry her? And so he says, well, because her parents have money. So if anything happens, I'll be straight the rest of my life. So, yeah. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that you said that because she thought he was a lame after that and decided not to mess with him after he said that about me. Um,
That it wasn't that that he was a married man. Interesting.
it wasn't
Okay.
that he was a married
Okay.
man.
Okay. Everybody's
There
standards
are some.
different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, wow. So it took me a little while because I wasn't going to say anything to my family at first. And then I went and I told my dad and I told my mom, and they both were very like receptive. Like they didn't get worked up, they weren't mad or anything. Then I called my brothers. They were both like, well, I mean, kind of, we could see that. We could tell that that was kind of a thing. And I was
Isn't
like,
that,
what?
is it,
Why didn't anybody tell me?
girl? I had the same conversation with multiple people. Like, why are you telling me now?
Exactly. Why didn't you tell me, here goes my dad? Because you were probably too far gone, sir. Regardless of how far you thought I was, like, and regardless if I would have said anything back, whatever, whatever, I'm receiving of what it is that you have to say. It'll give
Yeah.
me a minute. I'll think on it. Whatever
Yeah.
it is that you're saying, I'll think on it. So I would have known. I would have appreciated if somebody would have told me. So I came back to Georgia, waited for him to fly back, and I took him outside, put my baby to bed, took him outside and let him know that I was no longer interested in being in that relationship. And so,
Did you tell
um,
him about the information that you had gotten?
yes. And so what's so crazy is everything was right except for that part of it, my parents having money, right? Um, all of it was accurate except for that part, he said. And then it, when I said when I broke it off, he said, "Well, if you leave, I mean, I won't have anything. This car is yours. That washer and dryer is yours." He just started naming things that were not his family.
Listen,
Everything material,
listen, but
not his family.
hold on. Because I'm like, I'm hearing so much here, right? So in the beginning, you said, you made this decision. You did not consult God. And also in his behavior, it's clear that he's not a godly man, that he doesn't understand the role of a husband to cover. Like there are so many men, they want the position, right? They want the title, but they don't understand the duties that come with that and how they're supposed to cover us. And
Uh-huh.
there's so many other things where things are kind of flipped upside down where we, the woman, find ourselves doing way too much covering for different reasons. Um, feel like that just needs to be a whole other episode. It's a concept that I call the love deficit. The love deficit,
Yes.
right? where we have the things in us from whatever we've experienced. I know mine came from my parents in my childhood and both of their absences at various points in my life, right? And messaging that I got from my family, right? Like almost as if I had to earn love and that, the way to a man's heart is through the stomach. Where it was like all these things like that. I also think that media reinforces it, right? That the women have to compete for the man and he just gets to sit back and receive. And we do all the things and music contributes to it too. Like a lot that happened in pop culture just really flipped this upside down. So then all we really want in this life is to like love and be loved. And we come from a generation where it was all about the ring, right? And so,
Yes.
um, I really remember when one of the times, so we got very close very fast, you and I. And I remember one of the nights I was spending the night and you pulled out this binder. You want to tell the people about your binder?
No.
Well, I'll tell them. I'm gonna tell you business. I gave you an opportunity to tell your story your way.
Anybody can tell it. My sis can tell it. It's fine.
Well, I mean, I really admire this. So when I tell y'all my sis really believed in having a vision and making it plain, she had just that premiere. She had a binder with the dresses, the designers, the venues, like all the things. Like when I tell you hopeful romantic, I don't say hopeless romantic. I've always been a hopeful romantic. I've always wanted love, thought I deserved love, and the same for others. However, how far are we willing to go sometimes to get that love? Is what it
Girl.
sounds like, when you made the decision and you didn't even know it. And this is a person who it sounds like very strategic, very strategic. And from what I remember, because we weren't talking as much once you moved, because like he came in your life and took up space, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, my girl is all the way in love, wide open in love. And I loved it for you because I knew how much you wanted. I knew the conversations that, you and I had had. And
Uh-huh.
so I was like, all right, okay, well, and I know I didn't get down there to visit you all in Florida, but Trina did, right?
Yes.
And so, she came back and she had a good time. But I do remember meeting him on a couple of occasions in Milwaukee. And so, or I was home. Yeah, we all had to be home at the same time. But yeah, I could, I saw the connection. I knew you're in love. But that love deficit sometimes will allow us to miss red flags.
Yes. You'll see them, but you'll just make it a green one for whatever reason,
You
you know?
want to make it a green one because your needs are being met in other ways where this part of it is still. So this is the thing I say about people. If people are in relationships that are like unhealthy, other people don't understand, or just something going on, people stay in these relationships because they're still getting other needs met. So it's not like it's completely lopsided,
Yeah.
and you are
There's
willing
suddenly
to
a need
be.
being met.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's so crazy because I sit and I think about it now, I've been single now. From that day when I broke up with him till February of this year, it's been 10 years. So I've been single for 10 years. I've been divorced officially for 6. Because I moved to Mississippi. Uh, we're going to talk about how intentional God is because
Yeah.
I didn't want to necessarily be in Mississippi, but I couldn't handle being in Atlanta anymore. Um, Trying to raise my son and just do what I could do. I was struggling, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just got here and I wasn't well mentally when I got here. I
And
found
emotionally.
myself, yeah. And it's so crazy because my grandmother, God rest her soul, she was alive and well, and she would tell my dad, "You need to go check on her." She would ask about me, and then she would tell him, "You need to go check on her." He'd be like, "She all right? She in there? Whatever, whatever." But she would still tell him, "Just go check on her." But I would be like, I have a king size bed, a nightstand, and a dresser, and then there's like a little nook between the nightstand and the dresser on the side of the bed, and I would find myself just sitting on the
Yeah.
floor
Yeah.
in this space. Have no idea why, but I would sit there for hours.
Yeah. In
Um,
my mind, it gives me the visual of almost like being in a closet, just having
yeah.
the security of being in a small space.
And then that's so accurate. That is so accurate because when I started to get better mentally, I found myself coming out of that space and coming out of that room. Right. Um, but what I'm learning, like it took a while though. I went through different phases, um, for sure. Having fun, doing what I do. I'm single, I can do what I want. Um, but then
Listen, I know now from my own version of that, we was just acting out.
yeah, that's all that it was because what to me? And so then in 2022, I had this amazing encounter with God. God is so good. And he was just talking to me. And it was just like he was sitting right next to me, just pointing people out to me that knew him and how I was connected to them. And I'm seeing the people and I'm saying, you knew, by the way, you were one of them, by the way, I would just like to say. And so I'm just encountering
Tell
God.
me more.
Listen, so it was like God was consecrating me I was being consecrated this night. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Um, and he was just telling me his children, like people that were a part of my life that I knew that were his children. And but people that knew that I was his child as well before I knew.
Come on.
And so these
Listen,
were
what you're talking about is an identity crisis. We're going to come back to that.
listen, so then he's telling me the people who knew before I knew. And so it was two people, the first lady of my church. Like it was so wild. I had to call my pastor. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was the middle of the night and I had to call him. And he was just giving me scripture and stuff to read, whatever, whatever. Um, but he was just pointing out the people that were his children that knew that I was his child as well to me. And so, you were one for sure. And that's so wild. I love that so much. And that's why I just be like, yes, I'm championing my sis from afar. She don't even know. Like, I know that she has the oil for sure. Because God told me so. Um, and I just he told me, stop entertaining. Um,
He said, go sit
and
down
he told me
somewhere.
that there were certain and he told me that there were certain things that I just had to let go of. And so I gave him my yes. And and I just was like, okay, that's fine. That's what I'm going to do. And so I've been doing those things, right? And so 2022, the end of 2022, going into 2023 is when I really started to embrace my season of singleness.
Yeah.
And so God started to do just
What
things,
only he can do.
what only he can do when we say yes, right? And my grandmother, she passed away in 2023. But before she passed away 7 days after my birthday. And but before that, um, I was like, I've always been very empathetic. But I used to be heavy and not know why. I used to just be so like had my just weighty. Everything was so weighty, but I was always like, well, I don't understand. Like, I don't feel this way. I don't understand why. I'm learning, and have learned that my emotion is my discernment. I'm very discerning emotionally. And so I pick up the feelings of other people that are close to me. And
Hmm.
so I had to learn how to feel and not carry. And so when I learned,
I need you to say that one more time. I cannot let you run past that gym. We got to make sure the listeners got that. You
yeah,
said, go ahead, go ahead.
I learned how to feel and not carry.
Mm. So I
That
just
when I
heard
say
boundaries,
yes, boundaries. And you
boundaries.
have to give them to yourself as well. You can feel what this person is feeling and know that it's that person, but you don't have to carry the weight of what that is
And
for
you're
them.
not responsible. You don't have to fix it.
Mhm. You
And
don't.
when you one going back to the identity crisis, right? So like obviously we shared a belief in Christ, but like I don't think at the time we met we were really clear in our identities and really understanding how we were really set apart, right? And
Uh-huh.
a lot of people were drawn to us, but then also sometimes people were not for us, and we would still allow them to be in our lives and take up
Yes.
space and them to deposit energy or even drain energy from us, right? Because we didn't have boundaries. So we had an identity crisis and poor boundaries that were going on. And when those two things combine, people can come into your life and just take. And I heard this week in this training I was given, one of the participants, she said, there's no limit on how much takers take.
That's baby.
Okay.
What?
Okay. And so like even when you were speaking earlier, right? That's just it. And when you don't have those boundaries, people will just keep taking and abusing your goodness and that you've been given this
Uh-huh.
gift, this infinite supply of just like love and pouring out. And what happens is when it looks like it's limitless, people value it less. When you give it freely, they just like trample all over,
You
the
talking so right. You talking so right.
listen,
And
listen.
we both experienced it though,
Yep, I live my
for
own
so long.
version of it and several
Yes.
several times even in friendships with people, right? What's the scripture about the swine pearls and the dogs, you know what I mean? Casting your pearls before pigs, they're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
trample them. And we are precious pearls and we have been casting ourselves or allowing people to have access to us who would never appreciate it no matter how much we did. And
Uh-huh.
I think that God allows this for us to learn the lesson because it forces us to get clear in our identity. So he allows us to be hurt, but he's always there. Because how else do we get the lesson, right? Because you nor I can honestly say I didn't consult God, girl, because my counterfeit was sent in the form of 6'4", 3. I forget how tall that man was. Chocolate fine, big old smile. That man spoke multiple languages. He was Howard educated. He was all the thing. Counterfeit. And that's my fault. I ain't ask God. I saw what I wanted to see, and I was like, "You check enough of the boxes." I didn't even know I was settling.
Hmm.
I didn't even know that my relationship and marriage were material. That's why God came to me and said, "Let him go." Girl, not even playing. I was shook when I heard God audibly say, "Let him go." And I didn't get any phone calls. I wasn't told of any infidelity, none of those things that would be a clear reason for anyone to be like, "Yeah, sis." Because some people are like, "You let all that go?" Yes. You know what I mean? Like
I
they were
did. Actually.
and did, and that's okay because I'm not operating out of lack, right? And at
Exactly.
that point, I had done as much as I could, and God knew me. He know me. He know his daughter, and baby, I will hold on. And I have been being dragged the last several years of that because that's what happens when you don't let go of things that are not for you. You
Mm-hmm.
get dragged.
That
Now,
listen,
uh,
hey,
mhm.
that is the daggone who was that in the well?
Oh, Jonah. Was that
Jonah.
Jonah?
Yeah,
Jonah.
that's the
Yeah.
story of Jonah in the well. That's exactly it. Because that was exactly it. He was asleep and they came and asked him what the storm was raging and what should they do. He knew what it was. He said, "You're going to have to throw me overboard." Yeah, because my relationship with you, that your relationship with me is dragging you down. It is causing all of this. So go ahead and just get rid of me.
He was running
And
from
that's all.
God.
He was running from God.
Mhm.
And so I get it. But when I learned though to feel and not carry, then God started to move again. I started getting a nudge to go back to school. And I was like, Lord, I haven't been to school in 13 years. I don't want to go. So
I
what?
don't wanna.
I was like, okay, listen now. You know your daughter, like you said. You know your daughter, you're going to have to make it plain for me. I don't know how to read between the lines. I don't know how. You have
Yep,
to make it plain
yep.
for me. And so 2 days later, so I go to this conference every year. It's a women's retreat. It's called Pressed But Not Broken, and there's a
Pressed but not
prophetess
broken. I
there.
love that.
Um, Her name is Sade Martin. She's an apostle now. She just received her apostleship last year, at the end of last year. Um, but she would come. And so she had a Facebook Live, and there were two ministers on there. One of the ministers was an LPC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
they're just talking about the state of the world and the church, whatever, whatever. Um, and then the conversation shifts. Now, this is 2 days later after I told God, listen, you have to make it plain for me. Okay. Because I don't know how to read between the lines.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're just talking, they're having this Facebook Live conversation, and then the conversation shifts. And she says, there's going to be a call for anointed licensed professional counselors. So if you're getting the nudge to go back to school or to get the certificate, go and obey quickly.
Way that God be coming through other people. He will come through the TV screen. He will come through the Facebook Live. He will come through your Instagram timeline. Like he be coming through.
Listen. So that next day, I went to work and I started applying. I was looking at Northwestern and Jackson State. And so Northwestern was like, it's going to be 135K. And I was like, yeah, absolutely not. I'm good.
Sweet
Um,
Jesus.
exactly. So Jackson State is 4 minutes from my job. I was like, okay, I'm right here, whatever, whatever. Um, so I started in June. My journey started in June, trying to get into grad school.
This is 22 or 23 now.
23
Okay.
now. It's June of 23. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm overwhelmed when I open the application. So I'm contacting graduate admissions and everything.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's getting back to me.
You know there wasn't nothing but spiritual warfare and the enemy trying to keep you
That's
out
it.
of this
That's it.
obedience. Uh-huh.
But listen, okay? Because I kept calling. I called from June till August. And all of this time, now my grandmother has gotten sick. Okay. Now she's in the hospital. This is in June. No, this is in July. Um, I recall getting an email that said something about the deadline for the app was going to be August 11th. That's my birthday.
Yeah,
But I
you
didn't
see,
think
you saw my
anything of
face.
it.
I was like,
Yeah. So I still haven't gotten in contact with anybody. So in this time, now it's August. Okay. I haven't filled out my application. I've been contacting graduate admissions. Nobody is calling me back. I'm like at a standstill right now. I'm at a crossroads really because what am I going to do? I'm either going to just not do it or what? So my grandmother made a turn for the worse. And my dad and my mom, I never forget. So my birthday was Friday, the 11th. They went to church the 13th. And the first lady asked how my dad was doing regarding my grandmother. He was not prepared for the question and he broke down at church that day.
that's the
And
best place
so,
to break down.
yes, but the first lady and pastor, she's a soror of ours. They live 4 houses down in our subdivision. So that prompted them to come to our house that Sunday evening, right? To check on my dad again. And so she is the director of career services at Jackson State. And so as she's
Uh-huh.
talking to my dad, I said, hey, listen, what is up? I can't get anybody in graduate admissions to call me back. Like, do I need to pull up because my pull up game is prolific? She was like, you should.
Yeah, I
She
was
was like, you
thinking,
should come
girl,
around. She was like, and
HBCUs,
you
you
should
gotta
come
pull
around
up.
lunchtime. I said, okay, say less. I went the very next day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, she walked me to the graduate admissions office. I went in there.
Ain't nothing like
Um,
having an advocate to walk you in.
mm,
Look at how God is using what's on the surface, obviously like a very painful and unfortunate situation, but it put people in position. Nothing is wasted.
listen, I'm gonna tell you, and I got this nugget at the retreat. Everything is spiritual compost. Watch God use it all.
I
He's
like
going
how
to
that's
use
reframed. Spiritual
mm,
compost. That's a
every
ooh,
single thing, every
bars.
single. Because just think about what you said earlier about the experiences that you had and how things were framed and things that you had to unlearn and all of that. Every single thing is spiritual compost, and God has used it, baby, to get you to where you are, Dr.
Right.
J.
And
Nicole Simpson.
and and let's break that down further. Like compost is used to fertilize, to like
A
nourish,
lot.
to come
Yes.
on. Take you about turn that dirt into soil.
Yes.
Yes, I
And
like
build you,
this. I
groom you.
like
Okay.
this. I love this.
And so I go. She walks me in there and she's like, and call me when you leave. I said, okay. Go in there. The lady, like a secretary went in one lady's office. She sent the secretary off and had the other guy help me, is what essentially what she said. I go and he's in his office. He's a member of Omega Psi Phi. So he's like, hey, Silver, whatever, whatever. I'm like, yes. I was like, I've been trying to call you guys since June. Nobody has ever called me back. He was like, yes, you did miss the deadline. The deadline was August 11th. But I'm going to give you this information. He gave me two phone numbers. One was for the chair of the entire program,
Hmm.
the master's program that I was trying to get into. And then the other one was the other person in graduate admissions who would be able to get the application portal reopened for me to apply. So I called Sora when I was leaving. And she said, and I told her what he said and what he gave me. She said, oh, you should go to Dr. Porter's office right now.
Right
I said,
now,
okay.
you was already on campus. Why
So,
not?
she said, just drive. She was like, just go this way, go through this. You'll see this security tower, whatever, whatever. I see the security tower, whatever, whatever, but I can't find the building. Okay. So now it's like 100-degree day. I'm out of my car. I'm sweating. I'm like, you know what? To hell with this. I'm going back to my car. So I'm walking to my car. When I was parking,
Uh huh.
the first time I had talked to a security guard that was on a smoke break asking him if it was okay to me to park where I was parking. As I'm walking to my car to say, forget it, he pulls up in a golf cart and said, hey, Miss Lady, how you doing? He said, did you find everything that you needed? I said, well, I did, but now I'm looking for this and this XYZ building. He said, oh, you're right here. He said, just drive around this corner right here. He said, you're going to see a building with this playground on the back of it. He said, that's it. You're not going to be able to miss it. So I'm on my lunch break and I'm like, you know what? I'm just go back to work, but I'm going to ride around here. And just so I'll know where it is when I come back tomorrow. So I ride around there. I see it the moment I hit the corner. Okay. And so I drive over to the building and Holy Spirit is like, go inside. I was like, okay.
Is you so hard headed like me? Because you are how you got there. You know what I'm saying? God had told you what to do, and you faced some opposition because you said your pull up game was prolific, and then you was like, it's too
Yep.
hot.
Yeah, it's too hot
I'll come back tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Thank you for
So
the Holy
Holy
Spirit
Spirit,
popping out. Hmm.
yeah, he said, go inside. I said, okay. So I park and I go inside. I go to the third floor, but it's a ghost town. When I say I see no one. So now I'm getting ready to leave. And then three young ladies come out of nowhere. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Dr. Porter's office. And they were like, yeah, just go through these doors right here. You're going to see a set of glass doors, and his office is right in there. And so I go through, I find his office, but I walk in, I see he's on the phone. So I sit out in the lobby and I'm waiting. And I'm like, I gotta go.
Right.
As I'm getting ready to get up and leave, he comes out and say, hey, Miss Lady, how can I help you? I go in his office. He's a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. So I'm like, okay, okay. Right. And so I'm explaining to him how I've been reaching out to graduate admissions since June. Nobody has ever called me back. He's like, what's your email address? So unbeknownst to me, he's drafting an email, CCing me on an email to the other person whose phone number I had gotten when I was in
Huh.
the graduate admissions office, right? And so he's drafting the email, and he was like, well, listen, I'm going to reach out to this person. And if I can get them to go ahead and open the portal, he said, because classes started on Monday. If I can go
Oh.
ahead to get, so mind you, I'm already behind because classes started
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Mm-hmm.
The classes started today, and the last day for you to get added is going to be this coming Friday. So we're going to get this process rolling. We got to get it done now. He says, so what I'll do, I'll waive your letters of recommendation. All you need is your transcript and your shot records, and a sample writing piece.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Can we talk about how God was your recommender?
Because favor ain't fair for one. And so that's what he said. Uh-huh. Because I already got the recommendation. It's already here. Let me just do what I can do to help you. And so I was like, okay. So right away, I left. I got back to work, and it was I saw the email, and the guy had responded by the time I had gotten back to work. And he was being very like
Godspeed.
nice, and he was being like kind of nice, nasty with me. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let him make it because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, okay, Lord, hold my mule, okay, and just respond. Be gracious in your response. And I was like, yes, I was unable to complete. I haven't been in school in 13 years. I was unable to complete the application because I was overwhelmed when I opened it. And so, which is why I was contacting you all and no one ever got back to me. So now you're trying to be nice, nasty to me, but what's coming out in the email is that you're actually not doing your job properly. Um, but I got it
Exposed.
exposed. And so he was like, well, at Dr. Porter's request, I can go ahead and get the portal reopened for you to apply. Dr. Porter is the person that sent you the email, so I'm sure it's his request. But okay. So I went ahead and I got my application submitted. Went to Parchment, requested my transcript from the school I graduated from in Florida. Then get everything submitted. It's Wednesday now. And I get a phone call or I get an email that was basically like an acceptance email. But I had to do some other, well, actually, no, that's not what happened.
Okay.
I logged in to see if my application was complete. It said that it was incomplete. And so now I'm reaching out to Dr. Porter trying to figure out why. And I reached out to him. He says, it says, oh, I needed my transcript from UWM when I was at UW.
They went back, back, back.
They went back. So I was like, okay. So I went and submitted another request to Parchment, contacted the registrar's office at UWM and made sure they had everything that they needed to get the copy sent over. So now it's Wednesday. I'm calling. They were like, well, no, it takes typically 24 hours to get the request, but we have everything that we need from you, so we'll be able to get it sent right to the school. So I contacted Dr. Porter, and he's like, well, do you have everything that you need? And some said, just go check the portal to see if, UWM sent the transcript. I log on because I don't want to lie to the man and tell him that I do and I don't. I look, me needing the transcript is not even there anymore. It's gone. Okay. So it's saying that when I say gone completely, I don't know
Okay.
how. It was
Thank you so very much for tuning in for part 1 of Marriage, Singleness, and Purpose with Laqundra Hill, the founder of Don't Stop Love. Make sure you go check her out. Part 2 is available right now. So make sure that you like, subscribe, you follow. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And enjoy the next episode. Part 2 of Marriage, Singleness, and Purpose is available right now. Go watch, go listen.